Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is, thank God, Friday, March 27th, 2026 at 9 in the morning. So we use our half hour for the floor to hear from our legislative interns. Abbott, Bailey, who would like to go first?
I'll go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Abbott Sales, UVM turn. Today I'll be talking to you a little bit about H837, an act relating to rounding cash transactions. So what this act would do is it would round cash transactions to the nearest amount divisible by 5. So 1 cent, 2 cent, round down, others would round up. This bill, if a business rounds a transaction and there was a refund, so these are some protections, the refund amount, the amount originally paid, so the rounded amount. And the tax implication, which I know you wanted to talk about, is that tax would be calculated on the pre-rounding amount. So businesses would have to track the pre-rounding and the post-rounding for tax purposes and for their own accounting. And I also looked a little bit into the economic impact of this and did some estimates. So for Vermont specifically, if a rounding went all the way one way or all the way the other way, the total impact would be about $90,000 per month or $1.1 million per year. Again, assuming it goes either one way or the other way. And that average impact per Vermonter would be 14 cents a month or $1.68 per year, which wouldn't translate to every Vermonter because people who are lower income tend to use cash more. So there would be a little bit of discrepancy there. And I also looked into what Canada's results were for rounding in a couple of studies there when they got rid of the penny. The big finding there is that there appeared to be what they call a rounding tax. So stores would price things that end in 9. So if you bought 1 item or 2 items, the transaction would typically round up and then the stores would get a little bit extra money for that. And that would be the rounding tax. This one study found that it generated an additional $157 in Canadian dollars on average for grocery stores in Canada. After 3 or 4 items, the rounding tax kind of goes away. Also in Canada, they found that, individuals with an income under 45,000 Canadian dollars were more likely to use cash, thus more likely to be impacted by the rounding tax. And there was another study based on US consumer data into the potential impact of a rounding law in the US. And their estimate for the total US would be just over $6 million impact of rounding, which would be about 2 cents annually per American. That study used consumer data in jurisdictions that don't have any rounding laws. So any potential rounding tax wouldn't actually be factored into that. So that would be the big question, is what potential impact would this have on people, and would there be any kind of rounding tax? Is that something to think about? And then the other big takeaway, I think, is how will this affect businesses who might have to change their point of sale system to calculate the pre-rounding amount and the post-rounding amount for their own accounting and for tax purposes. So that's what I have. And if you want to look, there are some sources on the document as well.
Great.
I'm sure, I don't know this off the top of my head. I'm wondering, I'm sure you saw it in your research. When did Canada ban the,
I believe
get rid of their,
2013.
so they've had more than 10 years?
They've had 10 years. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, and this,
that's really helpful.
yes, this study was from 2018, so at least 5 years after that.
And the point of service has changed a lot since then too, right? Like the
Correct.
systems that businesses use. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Michael?
So Canada did this on a national level, not on a
State,
say,
province by
province by province.
Yes.
Correct.
And the changes in the study will consist across all provinces.
Do the Canadian reports indicate what the reaction was from businesses and purchasers, or and was something initial, and then anything on any feedback?
The study that I mostly looked at was not qualitative,
Yeah.
so there wasn't much data on the
Okay.
actual reaction.
Yeah.
But that would be interesting.
Yes. Okay.
Other questions?
I mean, there's, did you check to see if there's any other states that have done this?
Don't believe there's any states in the West.
I think there's states that are looking at it.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for some guidance from the federal government as well. I think we may hear from Chris Delia from the bankers on the federal side of what they're looking at, but I think we're being asked by retailers in Vermont to have something that they can rely on. They can show their customers that this is what the state has said, so.
That's where the impetus is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were going to go through the bill this afternoon, but.
the floor too long.
I think we'll, at least 2:30
Okay.
is the estimate, but, and I didn't think you'd all want to come back here after the floor this afternoon to talk about pennies. We can do it next week.
You get something to wake me up.
Sure, we can.
Stretch a burr, strike us.
Put
So,
2 cents in.
you want to put your 2 cents in?
I had to do it. I mean, it was right there.
I would be surprised if you did.
Well, I'm disappointed that I did because it was kind of
Can't
It's
take
one of
that
those, yeah, it really was. Wasn't worth,
They're all punchy.
yeah.
It's been a long.
That's true, yeah. So, thank you, Cabot, I mean, it came at a good time, your report. I think it's helpful. And it gives us kind of the committee an idea of what we're going to look at. Appreciate your work. I don't know if Kirk is out today, but he'll be in touch with you, I think. If he hadn't yet about anything that you might be able to look at for next week.
Sounds good.
Good, thank you. Bailey, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Bailey Davis. I'm the committee intern from Norwich University. My assignment this week was to look into medical devices right to repair. I'm going to make a lot of comparisons in this to things like smartphones, for example, because we see some practices that are carried over from medical devices to our everyday consumer electronics. So first and foremost, generally speaking, right to repair for medical devices requires that equipment manufacturers or the OEMs provide entities such as hospitals or general technicians with the same resources they provide to their own technicians. So that includes service documentation, so instructions, parts, manuals, schematics, wiring diagrams, diagnostic tools. Tools to make sure that they're identifying the issues that arise with whatever device they're working on, and then replacement parts. And those include, especially on your iPhone, getting third-party parts is one thing, but with medical devices, it obviously would behoove you, to get OEM parts, genuine parts, especially when the risk and you want quality when it comes to stuff like this. And those are to be offered at a fair and reasonable price, so not a huge markup. And then this is an important thing as well, and I'm going to compare this to a lot of repairs you see in iPhones. Security bypass, that's kind of what I labeled it here. A big thing that some of these manufacturers do is if you use parts that aren't necessarily OEM, the software will lock you from using specific features. So for example, on the iPhone, what Apple does is if they detect a third-party display, you aren't allowed to use like certain features like auto dimming, high dynamic range, stuff like that. And that's something that's a practice that was carried over to some of these medical device manufacturers. And so part of a generalized right to repair regime would be the idea that when you repair using these parts, you aren't going to get software locked out of certain features or just completely barred from using those parts. So it allows your general technician to take those parts and perform the necessary repairs without getting locked out. So then I'm going to go over bills and laws that have been implemented. Obviously, the first one there, the subject matter of this right now is H-160 here in Vermont. And of course, that's the bill basically states that hospitals must be given the parts, tools, information they need to fix these medical devices. And when it's fair and reasonable, including software and codes, like I said before, related to that's software lock that sometimes occurs. And I mentioned this federal bill here because even though I think this was in 2020, even though this federal bill never actually passed, it wasn't. It was killed. This is actually the bill that a lot of these state bills are generally modeled after. So, for example, the Colorado right here, House Bill 22. It's one of the first industry-wide bills, and this specifically relates to wheelchairs. So motorized wheelchairs, obviously that'd be important because if someone's relying on that wheelchair and they can't get the parts to fix that, if they're waiting for a very, very specific person with specific parts to fix that, then, ultimately their mobility is affected. You can see here, California has done something very similar. So powered wheelchairs must include an owner's manual with a detailed list of parts and instructions. So that goes back up to that standard set for right to repair regime, which is service documentation. And then Maryland, again, very similar, right to repair for powered wheelchairs. It's a very general scheme, similar to both California and Colorado, based on those criteria I laid out at the top of this document. And then I also mentioned, although these aren't related to medical devices, I think it's important to point out just generalized right to repair, because again, you can, generally speaking, model some of these more specific medical related right to repair bills based on some of these more general right to repair bills, which typically target consumer electronics. So in Colorado, House Bill 24, this bill would deal with, like I said, consumer electronics, parts repairing. So like I said before, for a lot of third-party parts, if you don't use specifically the OEM part, it will lock you out of certain features. And so it's, like I said before, this doesn't address medical devices, but it is something that we could look at for guidance for such a bill. Minnesota, this is generally speaking, when it comes to broad right to repair, it's the gold standard because it hits all three of those criteria at the top of the document. But again, like I said, this one doesn't include any type of medical devices specifically regulated by the FDA. But there's some talk that in the 2026 session in the Minnesota General Assembly, they're set to modify some of those exclusions for non-life critical devices. And speaking of life critical devices, Maine currently is drafting a bill that will require manufacturers to repair electronic devices, and then the electronic manufacturers to supply parts and information, and even some devices that are like light dependent. So with the more emphasis on stuff that people really, really need, you aren't allowed to then restrict the access to those parts and repairs, documentation, information on how to repair those devices. with that being said, I guess I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Bailey. Any questions? Seems like there's a recurring theme with everything and it's all computerized pieces that are I think the biggest challenge for any right to repair.
Certainly. I mean, I think you can see that. I mean, I try to compare it a lot with consumer electronics because it's something that people I think would understand more. I think a lot of times when you talk about medical devices, because it's such a wide spectrum of things you could possibly be talking about, it's kind of hard for people to understand. But the same thing that happens with big companies like Apple is happening with these healthcare manufacturers, and it's typically especially with like you said, more computerized devices. A lot of times it happens in that software lock. So if it detects a part that's not OEM third party, it'll just lock you out of certain features.
Yeah. Really interesting. And the consumer purchases a device and it's theirs, but it's not.
Yeah.
And
I know, I mean, again, I'm going to compare it to Apple once again, but I know, particularly like anti-repair design, right? I mean, you could look into that. That's something I can look into in the future as well. But they, build stuff specifically so it can't be repaired. It has to be replaced. And I think that's like an important piece of it as well.
yeah, turning the tech world into a throwaway economy.
Absolutely.
Kind of riles up my anti-competitive juices too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's turned us into a throwaway society for sure. Go ahead.
So Bailey, it looks like Colorado was the first one to put this in place, is that right?
Yes, based on the generally speaking, a lot of these bills are based around like, in a generalized way that failed federal bill
Yeah.
because that didn't get enacted on the federal level. But yes, Colorado enacted that in 2022. They were the first to specifically target medical devices. So
And do you know if they've done any updates since then, or if
I can
there's
certainly,
work being done to, like, is it working there? Is it,
I can certainly look into that and see if there's any data and follow-ups on that, but I can get back to you on it.
yeah, Colorado says enacted in 22. I don't know
Is
when
that
it took effect.
Is that, there's another one that the medical one just took effect.
I think, yeah, HB 22 is specifically the medical version of that. And then House Bill 24 is the more generalized right to repair that targets consumer electronics.
Okay, yeah,
So
but so did they exempt medical devices in that general one, or does that also include them?
so 1 second, let me pull the text up from that.
Yeah, wheelchairs, I thought
Sorry.
that was, we've been talking about that for a
Yeah,
couple of years, and so I'm just so
Yeah.
curious.
So HB 22 was specifically targeting repair technicians of mobilized wheelchair or motorized wheelchair manufacturers. Meanwhile, HB, let's see, where is it here? HB 24 is more focused on consumer electronics. So it focuses on some of that's like soft lock stuff I was talking about, the software locks.
Yeah.
Where if you're using third-party parts, you're you're locked out. But medical devices weren't specifically targeted in that bill, like to basically put it bluntly.
Yeah, but they
but-
didn't exempt them either, right?
I don't believe so, no. But I can confirm that for you.
Yeah, because then it's kind of a generalized
Mhm.
for anything. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wonder how their agriculture, tractors and stuff we worked on a few years ago. That same thing happens to the farmers too. Their tractors get locked out. Interesting.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind getting back with us on what the exemptions are in that Colorado bill, that would be
If they are,
if there are any.
yeah.
Certainly.
It'll take some time to get some data on it, but
Yeah,
be interesting. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you can take a look just to see if any lawsuits have been filed in Colorado, just on this law, because it just took effect January 1st, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, great, thank you. Of course, we have one, a general right to repair is 161. We didn't have time to look at, but
Yeah, I think 160 is the older. I think that one targeted medical devices specifically.
yeah. Great.
Ours doing that? I mean,
There is Massachusetts was going to put something in, and they came to an agreement with the manufacturers that actually covers that, not just Massachusetts, so. There is a right to repair. So your local mechanic can still work on your cars.
yeah, no, well, I'm just thinking like, you know, if a car manufacturer ever decided to do that, where, you know, because they're getting pretty tech
Yeah.
vehicles are. I mean, that would be
If you get-
devastating.
people
Now you
might
get your
stop buying
plug-in
that
stand.
kind of
Yeah.
car.
Huh?
People might stop buying that kind of car,
True,
right?
true.
Like the market is,
But if all of them not organized to do it, but if all of them all of a sudden
They wouldn't-
start doing
They
that.
wouldn't be colluding.
No, never, 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 never. I would never say that. But I mean, I mean, the difference in a dealership cost and a regular, you know, or even individuals doing their own work. I mean, it's significant. A dealership is like almost $200 an hour, whereas I could go down to a local auto body and do it for like $89 to $100 an hour.
Most of the dealerships, their work is warranty work.
Yeah.
And so in order to get the amount of labor costs, their rates are usually higher than the general mechanic.
Yeah.
Because they have to charge what their rate is, right? So their rates are, well over $100 an hour.
But if the manufacturer has the ability to lock people out, huge problem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Bailey, thank you.
Thank you.
Cabot, thank you. I'm sure Kirk will be in you at some point over the weekend to talk to you about what to look at next. Next week, we'll be looking at 313, which is a CTE bill that's come, the S313. And we're looking at S173 right now, which is bulk rehab. Trying to think, is there anything in those we would want them to PTU both looking at already? I don't know, but the
well,
bulk
we have
rehab,
some kind of a deeper dive into the credentials state.
yeah,
That might be helpful.
yeah. Talk to Kirk and have him touch base with you guys and see what we can put together for you for week coming. So Thursday, we have is Manufacturers Day, so we'll be having a joint hearing with Senate Economic Development in room 11 from 9 to 10. So right after that, I'd like us to jump in cars and go down to Randolph to Vermont Tech to see the Bright Futures that the lumber dealers talked to us about last week. So we'll take a little road trip. We'll have to be back here by 1 for the floor, but we're also thinking about organizing a road trip, a day out on the road. I'd like to go to southern part of the state. We haven't been there yet, so heading down toward the west, and I'd like to see their TIF district. There's also some places where CHIP is happening.
Right.
I'd like to go to Bennington and see the Putnam Block. That was a
Yeah, sure.
that was a tip also, and I think there's a chip project maybe down there. Maybe over at Brattleboro. I mean, I've been to Brattleboro, but not as a committee. I think it'd be good for us to go over the mountain, see Brattleboro as well.
We do a field trip
Yeah,
later in the session.
I'm talking with House Transportation. We usually do joint trips together, so we get a bus and
Oh,
we go down, so.
ah,
love that.
I'll talk to the speaker about that and make sure that it works out for her. I think, we'll find a day that the floor is gonna be slow, so we don't, have something that we should be here for and get the speaker jammed up. So with that, we will not be meeting after the floor. But expect a long floor day today again. We'll be back Tuesday, 8 to 7, look at this afternoon, we'll push that to next week and 313 we'll be looking at, and S313. Continue to look at S173.
327 comes today.
Yeah, that's right, the economic development bill will be in here too, so then we'll look at that next week too. It's not a huge bill, so it'll take long to go through it, but we get some things to add to it, so.
Economic development, wetlands information?
it's all about economic development, isn't it?
Everything in, right?
That was live.
Yeah. Any questions, committee? Okay, thank you for your work this week. It wasn't much in here, but a lot of work. Lindsay, thank you for being with us again and helping us out.